I'm Tessa Smith with Mama's Geeky. Thank you guys so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
First of all, Jeremy, I've got to say I'm a big fan of that poster behind you. So
I see that chair.
yes.
That's awesome.
Big Guardians fan, Marvel fan. But anyways, congratulations on this film because like how did it feel? You guys certified fresh in the 90s, not just critic, but audience score. What does that feel like?
It's really gratifying.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not chasing high numbers, but we do feel like clearly it struck a chord with audiences and critics, which is definitely something that you want. You want it to resonate with people. You want it to have a positive impact on people. So that is a nice affirmation that it seems to have done that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it just speaks to the strengths of the movie, and I think it speaks to how accessible it is to basically anybody. You know, I know of the 240 critics or 300 critics or whatever it is, I know most of them don't play D&D. Like most of them have not grown up playing Dungeons and Dragons. And the fact that they were able to walk away from it and be like, that was a great time is awesome. I think one of the reviews that made me laugh the most, I think it was like the New Yorker or somebody was like, you could feel like he was like begrudgingly like, I liked it. I'm mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to like it, but it's good. And that to me is always kind of fun when it's just good. So you have to like it. Darn it. I like that. I like that review. It makes me laugh.
Jonathan, you have anything to add?
Just that, like John said, after spending nearly 4 years developing this and filming it and then editing it, it is supremely gratifying that it did work for both fans and non-fans, because that was always our ambition here, was to make something that you didn't have to know the first thing about D&D to enjoy. But if you did, there's another layer just below the surface that is full of Easter eggs and full of surprises and cool references.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so I've not played, but I've watched like Critical Role. So like I knew a bunch of references from stuff like that. And actually I saw it and then I brought my kids to a 4DX or whatever it's called screening, which was so much fun.
Do they spray water at you and stuff?
Yeah, and it like snows like at the beginning part. It's insane. I was like, and you're moving in the seat like this, like during all the action sequences. It was crazy. It was like one giant ride. Yeah. And my kids loved it. They were like, let's go back and see it again. So I've actually seen it 3 times in the theater now.
Wow.
And yes. Wow. And like, I'll watch it again and again. It's so funny because I got the screener. They were like, do you need screeners for the interview? I was like, yes, I do. Just so I could watch it again. Because
I'm looking forward to The Beau is Afraid in 4DX. I hear it's really quite amazing.
That makes me so happy that you've seen it three times in the theater. You win the award for my favorite person that I've spoken to about the movie. So thank you. That's awesome.
And then I watched it last night at home just because I could, because I had it in my email. I'm like, why not?
That's amazing. That's
like,
amazing.
It's such a fun movie. Like my kids are 10 and 11 and they loved it. So like, what do you think it is that resonates with audiences of all ages with this film?
Look, I mean, we wanted to tell a story that felt universal, that had characters in it that you could relate to, and a drive for them that you can relate to. I mean, the fact that it is a wholly personal drive for Edgin. He just wants to get his family back. I think that's something that we can all kind of see a little bit of ourselves in, versus the kind of generic bunch of people trying to stop the greatest threat in the world. So I think there's something there that I think really resonates with audiences, and the fact that it's got humor and the fact that it's fun, and it really does feel like a ride, but not in a sort of surface level sense.
It's a movie that kind of wears its heart on its sleeve. It's not postmodern and it's not slick in the way of a lot of things you see now. It really, for us, the touchstone was, the Amblin movies and the action movies of the 80s and 90s that we watched and loved as kids, from Raiders or Jurassic Park or Princess Bride or, any number of those that just are a great couple of hours in the movie.
I think it also just, one of the things it survives on is I think by being better than it should be. I think that a lot of people just have very low expectations of what a Dungeons and Dragons theatrically released movie in 2023 is going to be. And I understand the cynicism that could cause you to think that it would be terrible, you know? And I think that when you go and you end up having a heartfelt experience and you realize you're in hands of really capable writer and directors that have put together a beautiful cast and like told a really simple story about longing and redemption and a father trying to get his family back, that you are just kind of surprised that that was what you were not expecting to see on Friday night at the cinema. And it leads to people being excited about it and feeling like they can tell their friends that they discovered something. And I'm really hopeful that as we move into this next phase of home video, that it just like is an explosion of people realizing that they missed it in the theater and telling their friends like, oh my God, I finally saw it. You were right. Which doesn't help the grosses, but it at least helps like my heart as I read people online going, oh my God, I didn't know. And that's gratifying in its own way.
I think that's going to happen too, because I've talked to a few people that had missed it and I'm like, oh, you guys, you're missing out. Like, just wait. And I know they're going to love it. And one of the things I love so much is that I think it's mostly you, John, but you've been posting the stuff on Twitter and like all the behind the scenes stuff. I've been loving that. And I think that's bringing in a lot of people too. So what's your like, how do you decide which things you're going to put out there?
I mean, I've just unloaded pretty much anything that seemed cool on my phone at this point. It was one of the best parts of the whole filmmaking experience was being able to utilize a lot of these practical effects in conjunction with state-of-the-art VFX. So just giving people a glimpse behind the curtain of how the sausage was made is really fun.
The Jonathan stuff, I'm like, that's probably one of my favorite just Jonathan lines of the entire film. I mean, the whole film is so great, but I love getting to see all of that stuff. Like, as I guess you don't realize how much of it is practical. And it's,
I mean, the whole movie pretty much is practical. I think everything had a practical representation except for Thembershad, which was just too big to do anything with. And the intellect of hours, because we ran the numbers and it was so expensive to make practical intellect of hours for literally a 3-second scene that it didn't make sense. But otherwise, everything else has a practical version. And the guys were so intentional about it.
It has a component for sure. And just so that we don't get into hot water with the VFX community, there's a ton of VFX in this as well that was done masterfully by the best vendors in the field. So it was really just being able to kind of fuse those two art forms in a way where you don't necessarily know what's real and what isn't when you're watching it.
Yeah. And then how do you like decide what the bonus features are going to be? Because like I said, you've posted a ton of stuff on social media and then we've got a massive list of bonus features. Like, is that you guys who decide that?
We weigh in on it. You know, they come to us with a bunch of possibilities of behind the scenes footage because we had these great people filming throughout the making of the movie. And it is exactly the kind of movie where the behind the scenes is a lot of fun. It's the kind of stuff I was totally obsessed with as a kid because we have prosthetic makeup applications. We have, you know, real creatures. We have these cool wire work stunts going on. So there's a lot to it. So we wanted to give people who are interested as much as we possibly could.
Because we shot during COVID, like we weren't allowed to have any press on the set. We weren't allowed to have any press days. Like we didn't get to do any of the fun stuff that you normally get to do to kind of show off the movie. So I went out of my way with the videographer who was there to shoot stuff to like really make sure he had a ton of access, because I felt like there was a story to be told about the making of the film that was not going to get told through the traditional means of like press visits and set tours and all this kind of stuff that normally happens. So I really wanted to make sure that he was there to capture everything. And so originally they were like, oh, we're going to have like 15 days or whatever. And I like fought with the studio and I was like, no, I want someone there every single day. Like, don't you think that seems excessive? And I was like, no, it seems like what I did at Marvel. Like we always had someone every day. And so he was with us on every scout. He was with us every day. It was awesome.
Yeah. Every day there was something unique and magical and something that really harkens back to those behind the scenes that I used to watch of the films that I loved back in the day. Like Jurassic Park, you know, like Indiana Jones. I mean, it's funny. I took my son to the Universal Studios tour yesterday when we went to the amusement park, and I was thinking about how every day on set of D&D would have just blown the minds of the people that were on the tour with me. It was really unique in that way because it wasn't just a bunch of us standing in front of a blue screen, you know, reacting to tennis balls. There was a lot going on, huge sets, like over 100 sets were built just for this film. And I think it really shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's part of why the VFX guys, like the proper visual effects team at ILM and MPC, were able to do such cool work was because there was always something real there. Like even like the littlest thing, like when the gang is in the cube and their faces are all smushed up and they're about to go dropping to the ground. The number of meetings we had, my daughter has a set of Barbies that I bought her because I brought them in and we dumped them all in different like levels of viscous fluid, you know? And so she has these weird Barbies with like really matted hair because they were all like used for a special effects test to see what it would do to hair. And because we had to figure out what it was going to do to Holga's hair. And so like even like those little things, like it was all figured out. We did real stuff the whole way through so that by the time the visual effects get put on top, it feels real. And you don't know where the line is between what was real and what was visual effects and where the practical line is. And I think that if you talk to any of the visual effects people, they say that's the best way to get good work is to have as much real stuff. So when they do the work on top of it, you don't know where it ends and begins. And it really was fun. So we tried to capture all of that stuff in the behind the scenes, which is cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it doesn't just have like the gag reel and the deleted scenes. Like there's a whole massive list of stuff that's gonna be on here. Do you guys have a favorite? I know it's probably so hard to choose, but a favorite bonus feature that was thrown on there?
Favorite bonus feature? Look, I'm a huge fan of gag reels always because it kind of shows that sense of fun that the cast had when they were on set. But aside from that, I think just the creatures, you know, the bonus feature where we were exploring all of the special animatronic and VFX creatures that we had.
That's called the bestiary, John.
John is the bestiary. Look, I'm a big fan of Rogues from Dice. No, wait, hang on. Forging the Forgotten Realms. That's probably my favorite. It features the wizardry, if you will, of regé-jean, who's our production designer, who brought so much to the world around us.
He's a genius. I do. My biggest regret now is just in hindsight. I wish we had an actual documentary film crew there to kind of capture the ups and downs of the whole process, because it really was an odyssey getting this thing made from the beginning. You know, when COVID happened, we were in soft prep and it changed everything. And there were some incredible characters that would have been really fun to see, you know, in documentary format.
Yeah, we toyed at one point with starting to record all of the Zooms, you know, and like give that footage over. And because it's like the first time where like the actual making of a movie, because of COVID, the weird circumstances, even when we'd have a production meeting, Jonathan, I would all be in different rooms with the team and we're all on Zoom together. So it's like really the only time that the whole filmmaking process has been 100% on video. And ultimately it felt like it was going to be a distraction.
Nobody wanted to go through it all.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, no, but it felt like it'd be a distraction from like actually making the movie, because like we're all, if you know it's all being recorded, are you going to speak as openly about an idea being stupid or funny or dumb or whatever it is? Are you going to speak as openly about the problems or the conflicts that we're having? Maybe not. And so,
everybody was relatively civil throughout the whole process, but there were some contentious moments that I don't know if I would want to rewatch.
Yeah, right.
Well, and like, would they have been as honest if you knew it was being recorded and
yeah, we
to an editor that doesn't know us?
We'd all be like David Brent, where we would just be constantly looking at the camera and trying to impress the audience.
So we ultimately didn't do it, but I do think one of my other favorite bits is the broadswords battle axe to badass brawls one, because I just think like anything that gets to show reggae and like the amount of work that he and Michelle both did to get their like fights down is awesome. And those two went into the gym. We built like a full on like fight gym on set, and they went in there every day and like worked their butts off. And you see it in the movie, like the action feels so real and present. And it's nice to see Brad and
Dion.
I pronounce his name Dion. Like Dijon is not right.
Dijon.
John's,
That was the caterer you're thinking.
He's gonna come beat me up for getting his name wrong. He could easily. To see their work is really cool because those guys, they killed it.
So the real takeaway is the fight coordinator could beat up Jeremy. That's what
That's the title of the article, FYI.
Was that a surprise to anyone?
I love it. I mean, you just mentioned reggae, like just when he walks in that straight line, I was dying. Like even the third time seeing it, like that's the thing. All of these jokes hold up the third, fourth time seeing it. Like I'm still cracking up. Like I know it's coming, you know? Oh my gosh, that was so funny. He just steps over the rock. I was like, no, he is not going to do that. It was so good. Oh, man. But congratulations, guys. It's such an incredible film. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa.
Thank you so much.
It was really fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.